What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. We'll continue its conversation with you concerning the complete history of boxing. On the night of October 26, 1915, the world welterweight champion Ted Kit Lewis defeats Joe Maddock in 12 rounds. The contest took place at the Athletic Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. On November 2, 1915, world welterweight champion Ted Kit Lewis knocks out Milburn Sawyer. On the night before the contest, Sawyer stepped on the scales weighing 135 pounds. Ted Kit Lewis never weighed in. November 23, 1915, 22-year-old Ted Kit Lewis knocks out 26-year-old Lockport Jimmy Dorothy. He had a record of 62 wins, 4 losses, 20 draws, and 14 knockouts. The contest took place at the Boston Arena. On December 11th of 1915, world bantamweight champion Kid Williams and Frankie Burns drew for 20 rounds in New Orleans. It was in defense of Kid Williams' bantamweight championship title. On a Monday night, December 20th of 1915, 23-year-old Mighty Atom, Little Jimmy Wilde, knocks out 26-year-old Sid Smith in London. It was at the National Sporting Club in Covent Garden. The contest was stopped in 8 rounds because the referee felt that Sid Smith had enough. He didn't want to see him take any further punishment. It was in defense of Jimmy Wilde's flyweight championship title. Now, Jimmy Wilde had a record of 102 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 71 knockouts. Sid Smith had a record of 68 wins, 12 losses, 6 draws, and 7 knockouts. I want to tell you something that happened very interesting when these two men would step on a scale the day of that contest. They would face one another on the scales on that morning. Sid Williams weighed in 8 tons, 112 and a half pounds after 2 attempts of making the weight. Jimmy Wilde stepped on the scales. Fully clothed, 3-piece suit, fedora hat, wingtip shoes, pocket watch, and he had a London Fog overcoat wrapped around his right arm. Stepped on the scales, weighing 8 stones, 112 pounds. He was a half pound under the weight of the challenger, Sid Smith. Jimmy Wilde and Ted Kit Lewis would perform at the London Music Hall. They were both musical composers. March 31st, 1920, St. Paul, Minnesota middleweight champion Michael Dow knocks out Joe Egan in 5 rounds. The contest took place at the Athletic Arena. It was in defense of Michael Dow's world middleweight championship title. The referee decided to stop the contest because he did not want to see Joe Egan take any more punishment. Michael Dowd, his name was Michael Joseph O'Dowd. He was born March 10th, 1895 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He died July 28th, 1957. He was 62 years of age at the time of his death, and he would reside in St. Paul, Minnesota. He stood 5 foot 8 inches, had a 70-inch reach. He was a middleweight champion, and he was known as the St. Paul Cyclone. He had a record of 62 total bouts, 51 wins, 7 losses, 51 knockouts. And he would win his title on the night of November 14th, 1917, over Al McCoy. And he would lose his crown May 6, 1920, to Harlem's New York southpaw, Johnny Wilson. April 21st, 1920, world featherweight champion Johnny Wilson knocks out Evie Miller in 7 rounds. It was an overhand right that would do the job. Landed smack on the mandibular. The contest took place in Ohio, and Johnny Kilbane will remain the world featherweight champion. He had a total bout career of 63 fights, 49 wins, 6 losses, and 24 knockouts. Very good fighter was Johnny Kilbane. I talked about him and showed him on some scrapbooks that I showed you images of, and I will continue to do so. Harlem, New York's middleweight 27-year-old Johnny Wilson defeats St. Paul's world middleweight champion 25-year-old Michael Dow. The contest took place at the Athletic Club Arena, the Mechanics Building. Now, the referee, same referee who stopped the other contest, Hector McLinnis, awards Wilson the World Middleweight Championship belt. Now, Johnny Wilson was born March 23rd, 1883 in Harlem, New York. He was a southpaw. He died December 8th, 1985 He was 92 years of age at the time of his death, and he resided in Boston, Massachusetts. He stood 5'9", had a 72-inch reach. He was a southpaw middleweight. Fought from 1912 to 1926. I met Johnny Wilson 2 separate occasions. He had a total bout career of 72 bouts, 48 wins, 21 losses, 29 knockouts, and he was stopped 3 times in his career. May 31st, 1920, World Welterweight Champion Jack Britton defeats Johnny Griffith in 15 rounds. The contest took place in Akron, Ohio. And Jack Britton will remain the welterweight champion of the world. June 9th, British welterweight Ted Kit Lewis knocks out Besham 9 rounds in London. July 5th, 1920, world lineal lightweight champion, Lower East Side star. His name was Benny Leonard. He was knocked clear out of the ring. 5th round, scheduled for 15. The contest stopped, and reporters would push Benny Leonard back into the ring because he landed on their typewriters. Would only KO this man in Chicago. His name was Charlie White. Stopped him in the 9th round. Referee stopped the contest. The Ghetto Wizard would retain his World Lightweight Championship contest. Now, Benny Leonard, his name was Benny Leonard, Benjamin Lanier, the Ghetto Wizard. He was born April 7th, 1896 in Lower East Side of Manhattan. He died April 18th, 1847 in Manhattan as well. Now, the thing with him, he fought from 1911 to 1925. Then he retired, made a comeback in 1925 and 1932. The stock market would crash in 29. Benny Leonard would lose $500,000 in the stock market, and he would have to make a comeback. After 19 comeback attempts, successfully, he would get in the ring with Jimmy McLaurin, who was the babyface assassin. He'd be stopped in 6 rounds, and that would be a devastating blow to the Jewish community on the Lower East Side. Benny Leonard stood 5'5". He was a lightweight and had a 69-inch reach. He was a phenomenal fighter. He lost his professional debut on the night of October 14th, 1911. He would win the lightweight championship belt from Freddie Welch, 1917. Let me pull out a scrapbook. I'm going to show you a couple of fights. We're going to look at Jimmy. In fact, no, we won't look at that one. I'll pull out Mickey Walker's scrapbook, and we'll see when Mickey Walker defeated Jack Britton and will become the welterweight champion of the world. Now, August 23rd, 1920, world welterweight champion Jack Britton draws 12 rounds in Bridgeport, Connecticut. He was awarded the welterweight title in Clifton, New Jersey. Jack Britton was known as the boxing marvel. He was a phenomenal fighter. September 6, 1920, the Manassas, Colorado, world heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey would knock out Billy Misk, 1 minute and 13 seconds of the 3rd round. Now, what's interesting about Jack Dempsey? When he took on Billy Misk, he threw a punch to his chest. And when the glove was removed from the chest of Billy Misk, a huge red print shaped of a glove would discolor it would discolor the skin of Billy Misk. This was the beginning of his bright disease. He weighed 187 pounds. Dempsey weighed 188 pounds. He had 11,346 spectators who contributed $134,900 to that contest. Let's take a look at Jack Britton and Mickey Walker in this scrapbook. Now, I just pulled out the Mickey Walker scrapbook. This entire book is Mickey Walker. Tons of fights of Mickey Walker in here. 1,000 pages, 2,000 front and back. This is Mickey Walker when he would lift the welterweight championship title from Jack Britton, the boxing marvel. Let's see here. If I can get a good image shot for you. Elizabeth, New Jersey's Mickey Walker takes on Clinton, New York's Jack Britton, and he takes the title from him. As you can see, Jack Britton floored in the 10th round of the Garden. Hallie Pastor was the referee for this contest. Mickey Walker captures the welterweight championship title from the veteran Jack Britton in 15 rounds. Elizabeth Ladd, too strong for 37-year-old champion, who was great in defeat. New York boxing body calls bets off. Mickey Walker was something else, man, but he didn't fight certain fighters, and that's what was an asterisk to his name. I want to show you something. Let me show you another article on Johnny Wilson, in fact. Let's look at Johnny Wilson. I got to take that book out, a separate book. Give me one moment. All right, now this is Johnny Wilson, a whole separate scrapbook with Brian Downey Jr. Johnny Wilson and Brian Downey Jr. In fact, I'm going to show you an old boxing card of Brian Downey Jr. Johnny Wilson, Brian Jr. Here you have Johnny Wilson defeats Michael Dow, keeps his title. This is all Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson meeting proves 12-round a farce. Johnny Wilson and Michael Dow. Let me show you something else with Johnny Wilson. I just have a bunch of boxing cards spread out here from the 1920s. But what I want to show you, I'm trying to focus this here. Let me show you Johnny Wilson 1 second here. Another page of Johnny Wilson. Okay. All right, family. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. I think what I'll do is I'm going to start a private channel just with a few names that I know that really appreciates the memorabilia that I do show. Some of this I can't put on the internet. I'm not going to just put it out there. Some people just download. They don't thumb up. They don't leave comments. And I can't do that. There's so many precious jewels that I have in these books. I hadn't showed you probably 1% since I've been on YouTube of what I really have. And I'm not going to do that. So I'll probably start a private channel, just probably 20 individuals that normally show up in my chat. Martin Dunstons and, of course, Hardline Boxing, 86 Boxing, Random Accustomed Thoughts, my brother Stormy B, man, St. Cruzin, Andre Rodriguez, you know who you are. So I'm Scrapbook Boxing. I'll be starting another channel just private for the scrapbooks that I do have that I want to actually show you. All right, thanks for watching. I'll continue with the series. Peace.